All right. And like I promised, we have a slideshow for us today. So we are going to get started with that. If I can just play this. So one thing that I will say, oops, we are on the end. Let's see if here we go. If you are watching this live, welcome. It might be easier to tune in to the slideshow to see the slides and you can change your view on your screen. You can change your view on your screen to see me and see the slides if you want, or you can just see the slides, or you can just see me. But you get to choose in the little view button that is your upper right-hand corner. And while we do have the slides up, I cannot see the chat. So just know that I can't see the chat, but I will pop into the chat at the end for questions. All right. So welcome, friends. Again, thank you so much to everyone who's here live, for everyone who is making the time to watch this replay. Today, I'm going to be chatting a little bit more about how I built my coaching business. So this is a virtual workshop on how I found and cultivated a career of more joy, alignment, and purpose. And I do have a special gift for everyone who's here live or who watches this recording to the end. So stay tuned. Like I mentioned in some of the promotional materials, my intention is for this to be an hour. If there's more questions, I'm happy to go a little bit over, but it definitely, like, our main content won't be more than an hour. Might be even be less than. So here's what we'll cover today. Number one, how I found my calling as a coach and as a teacher. I'm going to get into my story in just a moment. And spoiler alert, I don't believe most of us here have just one specific calling. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more and how it can keep you stuck. I'm going to share some key steps along my journey that have led me to success. So some things that I would do again if I had to do it all over again. These are things that I recommend to my colleagues, to my coaching clients. And then also 3 things I do differently if I had to do it over again. Like I've shared in other platforms, I trust that this was all part of the process, but no need for you, if you are in the seat that I was in 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or even 3 or 2 years ago, there's no need for you to make these mistakes as well. And I don't really love the word mistakes, but I think you all get what I mean by that. So first, who am I? Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm a business mentor. And I believe that your intuition is your greatest superpower. And I also believe that we all chose to be on this planet at this time for a reason, that we are all here for a reason, that I'm here for a reason, that you're here for a reason. And that wasn't something that I was taught growing up necessarily. I was told I could be anything that I wanted to be, but it wasn't like, oh, you're here for a purpose. And part of life is finding that purpose or finding those purposes. Like I mentioned previously, I don't necessarily think that each and every one of us have just one calling or one purpose that we are achieving throughout a lifetime. It might be a series of accomplishments, a series of shifts, a series of roles that you play, but you are here for a reason. I love learning and teaching about the woo-woo. So astrology, tarot, human design, all those things in a really practical and grounded way. And integrating the spiritual practices into your, like, taking it from something that you might learn about on the internet or read about online and integrating it into your life and also into your business or your work, if you don't have your own business yet, is my jam. So before we move forward, I'm going to just see if I can see the chat real quick. I would love to hear from you all who are live. what is your work situation right now? Like, are you an entrepreneur? Did you find me because you've gone through IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition? What's work for you right now? So pop into the chat and let us know. And I think that let me see if I can, there we go. Okay, I can see the chat now. So what's your work? And would you say you feel maybe a better question is, would you say with your work, with your life, that you feel connected to your purpose? And if you are watching this replay, you can use this as an opportunity to sit with that for yourself, sit with that question for yourself. Cool. So Phoebe is a therapist. Awesome. Phoebe, I'd love to hear if you feel if that feels connected to if you feel connected to purpose in your current role. Glendine said, I'm a student at IIN currently. I'm in the early stages of launching my coaching business. Congratulations. I also work full-time in corporate America. Cool. Cool, cool. Hunter is an IIN graduate and finally feeling like I'm moving towards my purpose. Amazing, amazing. So I'll share a little bit more. And here we have a few more responses. Mary said, currently an event producer going through Duke Integrative Health Coach programming, looking to connect my Ayurveda practitioner skills with health coaching. Amazing, amazing. I love hearing this. So it sounds like, folks are starting on that journey or somewhere along that journey of what's next, what's for you, maybe wanting something more. So how I found my calling, and again, I don't believe that there is just one calling. I don't believe that I just have one calling or one purpose in this lifetime. How I found my calling as a coach was when I started to listen to the voice inside of me saying there's something more. So like I think I mentioned, I wrote this in one of the emails where I shared about this class. I was a very intuitive, creative, and sensitive child. I loved singing and dancing and connecting with spirits and even doing like witchcraft, all these things. But somewhere along the way, I learned that that wasn't the road to success. I learned that I should get good grades, I should do the extracurriculars, I should get a good job so I can provide for myself so that I could be successful. Now, something we'll talk about a little bit later is defining your own, what your own idea of success is. But I kind of just followed the steps, or I did follow the steps that were laid out in front of me by what society, but by what my parents and my communities and my schooling said, this is a smart path. So that led me to honor society, straight A's, led me to go to business school eventually, pursue my CPA license, and work for a Big Four public accounting firm in Washington, D.C. And I know that all of this was part of my process. And it's very interesting looking back how I can integrate some of that experience into my life and my work today. But a few years into working in that corporate job, I started to feel just this feeling that there was something more for me. I didn't really love a lot of the like hustle culture that I was surrounded in. And even in my career in working for a Big Four public accounting firm in DC, there was like work-life balance, but really it was this, I am longing for something more. So that's something, a little takeaway, a little tidbit is pay attention to your longings, pay attention to your desires because they're clues. They're clues. And so I kind of, wouldn't say I ignored it. I started to explore healthy eating and healthy living and yoga. And these were things that I was interested in. But finally, I got to a place where there was like a switch in thinking. And that was because I was presented with a new opportunity. I was presented with a new reality. I started discovering food blogs. I saw people, started going to yoga. I saw people who were yoga teachers full time. And my vision of what was possible for me was expanded when I saw these different routes. And I started to think like, could I do that? Could this be the something more for me? Could I be a food blogger full time? Could I be a yoga teacher full time? So I went to yoga teacher training. Um, I eventually ended up going to, we have someone drawing on the screen, I think.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. The slideshow feature is new to me. So it's as much my fault as your fault, but it's cool. So I eventually found myself researching careers in health and wellness. And I found the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which I know we have a few IIN grads on this call or folks who are currently in the program, and probably some of you watching this replay after the fact. But I found IIN and everything in me said yes. And by everything in me, I mean my gut, I mean my heart, I mean like my cells said yes, even though my brain was still trying to figure out like, oh, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to do something with this? But everything in me said yes. And I followed that yes. I followed that longing. I followed that desire. I enrolled in IIN without knowing specifically what I was going to do with it. And it did unfold. It did all, I guess, work out by listening to that intuitive voice inside. And I will say, I'm going to mention this again at the end, but for if anybody is watching this who has been interested in IIN or is interested in doing a health coach training program, I do still support that coaching or coach training program. And if you're watching this within a few days of when I've recorded it, if you're here live, or if you're watching this within a few days of when it was recorded, there is a special savings going on for IIN right now. And that actually was the impetus for me holding this class. It was 7 years ago today on Black Friday when I decided to actually enroll in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition because they have their biggest savings of the year right now. So the savings offers sometimes are those little things that our brain needs in order to say yes to something that our heart wants. And so that was the case for me with IIN. And I truly have not regretted that decision for a moment since. So that was a huge step in my process, was starting to say yes. And I skipped a little step in my story. I also got certified as a yoga teacher. That was also something coming from my intuition. Got certified as a yoga teacher, got certified as a health coach. And truly from there, I started to learn how to listen to that voice inside. And it's developed over the years because we all have years and years and years of programming. And that can be programming from your schooling, your education, from your communities, from your families. It's also, we all live, most of us, and I'm guessing if you're watching this, you live within a modern capitalist society. And there are certain belief systems and values and ideas of success that have been programmed into you, into me, since before we could even speak, before we could even articulate, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so it takes time to unlearn some of that program and learn to listen to what your heart desires, what your gut is telling you, what your, higher self is downloading is the next right step for you. But ultimately, that has been the through line for where I have gotten with my business and my life today. And I can actually say this, and I wasn't planning on saying this, but I can actually say this now. I've never been happier in my life. And that is somewhat to do with my business. Yes, of course, I'm leaning more and more into my intuition every single day with that, saying yes to the things that I want to do, saying no to the things that I don't want to do. But it's been a journey. It's been a process. It's not, and this is something I would say to anyone looking at an additional training or an additional certification process, don't say yes to that certification process because you think it's going to be the thing that makes you happy or the thing that fixes you. While I was certainly interested in becoming a health coach and learning more about health and wellness, I had some pretty serious disordered behavior with food and exercise. And I think on some level, I thought that IIN was, or yoga teacher training was going to be the thing that fixes me or fixed me. And that is not the case. These certification programs are not that. And oftentimes for some folks, they can exasperate a problem or an issue. But for me, it was an entry point to starting that self-reflection, to start listening to my intuition, to start to create this business and this life that I actually feel good in. So I'm going to pause right there, and I just want to pull up the chat to see if there's any messages here in the chat, and if we have anyone else who needs to join us. No, we're good. So like I said, everything started for me when I began to listen to that voice inside. And there was while there are these milestones along the way, saying yes to yoga teacher training, saying yes to and saying yes to some of these other things within my business as it actually launched, which I'll get to in a moment, there was no one thing. There's no one piece that was like, aha, like I found it, I'm doing it, I'm living it. Like life is a journey. And I fully believe that. And I also believe that part of our journey in life is continuing to connect to what am I longing? What am I desiring? What's firing me up? What's lighting me up? Where is my purpose right now? Do I feel in purpose or do I feel out of alignment with myself and my purpose? So maybe that's the question. I do want to make this interactive, especially since we have a little smaller group live. On a scale of like 1 to 10, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing this in the chat, you don't have to. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like very disconnected from purpose, to 10 feeling very connected to purpose, where would you say you fall right now? Right now, end of November 2020. Where do you feel connected to that purpose? So we have a 6.5, a 6, a 7, a 6. And I don't say this to judge or to create judgment within you, but sometimes it's nice to put a number, to put a structure, to put a like measurement on something so that we can check back in at a later date and say, oh, where am I now? Where am I now? And sometimes we need folks along the way to remind us and encourage us to do that reflection process, to do that check-in process. All right, let's start with, so actually before we go into the don't do's, you just got a little preview of the don't do's. Before we go into the don't do's, I want to share a little bit more about my career post graduating from IIN. I have a video up on YouTube, which maybe some of you have seen, sharing about the IIN program and how that really was the catalyst for me to start my business. And it truly was. But if you follow me on Instagram, if you follow my blog posts, sure, you probably know some of the journey since then. But I want to kind of catch y'all up and share what it's been like to be an entrepreneur in the wellness world, an entrepreneur. And I also consider myself now a creative in the wellness, personal development world over the last 5.5 years, because so much has changed. So much has changed for both me and for the world. So after graduating from IIN, and I'm going to be very real with you all with this. I'm all about transparency and authenticity. After graduating from IIN, when I had graduated from IIN, I was actually living in New York City at the time. So I'd made the move actually right after enrolling in IIN. I had made the move to New York City. I stayed in my corporate job. I did IIN while I was working full time, which is totally possible. And I also, trust that I got everything that I needed from that program, even if I wasn't committing 40 hours a week to study. But there, I went to a live conference as part of IIM, and I don't know if they're doing this right now because of COVID and because of the size of the program, but they used to have these live conferences that you would get invited to once throughout your 6-month or year-long program. And it was at that conference, again, somebody expanded my idea of what was possible. There was a speaker on stage. There were many speakers on stage, but one speaker in particular resonated with me. She had a very similar story to me working in corporate America. And she was sharing how she quit. She just quit and she focused on this wellness business. I don't remember. I think she was more of a wellness product, a food product at the time. But hearing her story, and that's why it's so important, why I'm sharing more of my story and hope that some of it can resonate with you and hopefully open up some possibility for you. But hearing her story gave me this thought, or I had this thought, this insight, this intuitive hit, this download that, oh, I can just leave. I don't have to build up my business alongside of my very, very more than full-time corporate job. You certainly can. I know we have someone live on this call who says she's still working in corporate America and building her business and doing IIN, or that's great. You can totally do that. But I needed the perspective of like, oh, I don't have to do that. So I did the IIN program. I built my website. I built my signed up for a newsletter list platform. I had the systems in place, but I never shared about what I my business as open. I didn't say oh, I'm open for business until I quit my corporate job and I quit cold turkey and started my health coaching practice. I think I quit. Well, I actually quit and ended up staying for a few months, but I left in March and I announced my business at the beginning of April. And it was great. I had some excitement. I think I got one or two clients that were friends of friends right away. I was teaching yoga at the time, so I did have a little bit of income and work through yoga teaching and doing certain workshops. But pretty soon it became clear, even though I was doing the things, writing the blog posts, writing the email newsletter, posting on social media, sharing about what I was doing with friends and family and my students. Pretty soon, I got to a point where I had to be real about what it took for me to live in New York City and what I was making from my business. And it's at this point that I'll go to what I would do. I'm going to pull up this slide anyways, because I think this is actually going to be helpful along the way as I share my story. Don't do this. Road mark, you can go, or flag, you can go another way. So one thing that I think, well, one, I did get really real and said, okay, so I have to do something else because my business is not making what I need in order to live comfortably, live by my standards, have the life that I want. Because side note, your work, especially if you go to do something you're passionate about, should support your life. It can't impede on your life, or else it's not going to be sustainable if you're not living a life that you want to live. So I decided to look for some other work to supplement and take some of the pressure off of my budding coaching business as it grew. And that's actually something that I do recommend. I didn't put it on my tips of these are the top 3 things I recommend. These are the top 3 things I don't recommend. But that's definitely something that I recommend is if you can get, I think Marie Forleo is the one who might have coined this term, a bridge job. Something that can bring in some money, can bring in some income, maybe put you in the field that you want to be in or closer to the field, adjacent to the field that you want to be in, and take the pressure off of your business to be the one thing that's bringing in your income, if that is a requirement for you, if you're needing to support yourself financially. um, so I did get a few different jobs, some of which were just very short term. I did all sorts of things. I posted a bunch of funny stories on Instagram stories yesterday. I worked for a smoothie company sampling smoothies at Whole Foods. I did workshops. I taught yoga. I was also a model for athletic gear for Amazon Fashion. So that was all really cool. And the thing that I have to, I share that, one, to show some like humility and like honoring myself for being resilient. Oftentimes at the beginning stages of the business, especially in this world of Instagram, where we see so many coaches out there, so many folks like kind of living the dream or living the life. It's like, well, wait, shouldn't I be living the dream? Shouldn't I be living the life? Shouldn't I be making six figures on my coaching business in my first year? I'm not saying that's impossible. For certain, it's possible for many people. Um, but that wasn't the story for me. And I'm really grateful that I just kept going and kept listening to my intuition of like, what would be the next right thing for me? What would be the next right thing? And eventually I did get a really great job that was very part-time and then evolved into more full-time with another coach. And that was such an amazing learning experience that helped me learn not only more about coaching and facilitating programs and leading retreats and all that jazz, but also the behind the scenes of business and online marketing. Um, so I had a mentor in that standpoint, but something that I resisted along the way a lot, which is my first don't do this, is I resisted asking for help. I resisted asking for help. And there were many moments where I could hear there was like a little voice inside of me that was like, you need help, and help in different ways. Like, yes, I needed to go into therapy for like my food stuff. Uh, I also needed someone, like I needed to be coached in order to see the value in coaching. Maybe you've heard that a lot. Some of you might have heard that, or maybe you haven't, but I needed to be coached. I needed to be mentored to really see the value in that from a lived experience. Um, and so that is something it took me a little while to accept, is even though I am I am showing up as a coach, I'm showing up as a teacher, I'm showing up as a leader, and I can help my clients with these certain things, I still need help. I am an imperfect, evolving, ever growing human. And oftentimes, a lot of the reason why folks get into the wellness industry, in particular, health coaching, yoga, life coaching, is because they have their own stuff. And I've had my own stuff. I have my own stuff. And oftentimes, and sometimes what I see, and I mentioned this earlier, is that folks, again, myself included, will invest in more trainings. Like, oh, I'm going to get Reiki certified, and that's going to be the thing that finally heals my like late night binge eating. Or I'm going to, I just heard like train for a marathon, although that's not really, the training we're talking about, but we pick some other thing instead of actually being like, well, no, I need to get a coach myself, or no, I need to like ask someone for help with my finances, or get some specific help on this branding piece. So that's my number. Like, this is in no order of like importance, but one is like, don't invest in more trainings when you really need, don't invest in more new information when you really need to digest or process some old information, some old belief systems, some old patterns. Don't invest in knowledge when what you need is help integrating, when you need help processing, when you need help putting into practice. They're very different. They're very different. And sometimes in the coaching industry, especially with more and more programs online, there can be this gray area of, well, wait, is this coaching? Is this mentoring? Is this something that I'm going to learn like a method from, or am I going to help myself from this? So get clear on what you need as far as your personal support. and your professional support, and then ask for that. So there's a question here, and I'm happy to answer it. Glendine said, can you share how you found a mentor to help you with your coaching practice? What tips do you have to find a mentor? This is such a great question. Go to the person you're attracted to. Energy is real. This is something that I teach about because I do mostly life and business coaching at this point. It's really not as much health coaching at all. And a lot of my clients are aspiring wellness entrepreneurs, aspiring health coaches. And something that I'm always sharing is like, your marketing copy online is important, but also your vibe is important. How you're showing up, your energy. People are attracted to energy. And especially today with TikTok and Instagram stories and all of these things where we can get a sense for someone's vibe. It's not just words on a screen on the internet, which can still be powerful. You can still get a vibe through that. But if you feel connected to somebody, ask them. Ask them. And I do mentoring, and that's something I'm going to mention, or I'll offer at the end of this call. So maybe we're meant to work together. But find someone that you energetically feel connected with. And another tip, one of my spiritual teachers told me this recently, is like, look at them. Do they have something that you want? Do they have do you want a successful online coaching business? Do they have that? Can they help you get there? Do they have a beautiful relationship with their significant other while also having a balanced business? Is that what you want? Like, go with someone who has something or can help you, show you the path to something that you want. So let me know if that answers your question. Okay, great. Again, feel free to pop questions in the chat. I did figure out how I can see the chat as we go along here. So don't invest in more trainings when you really need something else, when you need help with the integration. Number 2, this is a big one. Don't get caught up in someone else's idea of success or happiness. I can speak to this one. But again, especially with the online world, we can see so much more of people's lives and people's businesses, which we know is just a version. It's a filter. Even if people are authentic, it's just a slice. But it can be really easy to see, especially in the coaching world, like, oh, they said that they made 100K in their first year as a coach. I need that. Do you actually need to make $100,000? Do you want to make $100,000? Is that important to you? What does $100,000 mean to you? And I used to teach this. I have taught this method of goal setting for a while. It's inspired by Danielle Laporte's The Desire Map. Again, coming back to that word desire. And your goals, your vision board items need to be based on desires and feelings. And again, the bigger picture for your life, like, what do you really, truly need and want? And it's funny. For me, especially living in New York City, which is where I lived up until January of 2020, I lived there for 6.5 years. There's a lot of pressure for anyone who lives in a big city knows there's a lot of pressure to make money and be successful in a certain way. And taking the step away from the city really allowed me to, actually it started when I was in the city. I started to see this vision for my life. And I don't have any desire to be on national TV. I don't have any desire to, I don't even like to connect it to money because it's not important, but I'm not I need to be a female millionaire. That's not for me right now. My desires right now are I want to live in nature. I want to have a comfortable home. I want to have space in my schedule to make homemade herbal medicine and go on hikes and be with loved ones and cook my own food and grow my own food. Those things are important to me. Those things constitute success or happiness to me. Working with clients that I really love, being able to show up in my group program and being able to be my own like true authentic self. Those things mean success to me, not, oh, I made 6 figures this year and I got 60 people into my online coaching group. So keep checking yourself, because this is something that's going to evolve along your way, and you can apply this whether you're an entrepreneur or not. But like, what does success mean to me? And if things start to pop up that feel like they come from this more heady space, if you start to hear your mother or your father or your, fourth grade teacher's voice in your head, like question that, because maybe that's not you. That's something that was like conditioned into you. What coming from like, I'm like down here, like your gut and your heart, and it makes your cells sparkle. What is success to you in that standpoint? Okay, the final like don't do this is look for coaching or support in the wrong places. So this is maybe also will address the question that was asked earlier. Because I was hesitant to ask for help, I looked for support in the wrong places. I looked for coaching from my mentor, which even though she was a coach, I looked for coaching from my employer, which even though she was a coach, she wasn't signed up to be my mentor specifically around certain things. Looking for coaching in your friends and family, or even looking for emotional and practical support around your business goals. Your friends and family might not be able to provide that for you. Your significant other might not be able to provide that for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I remember when I first launched my business, right after that was my 5-year college reunion, and not a single one of my friends there asked me how it was going. And I was floored. And I was hurt. I was really hurt. And I realized that I was looking for support in the wrong places. One, we were so young, people didn't even know, they all were like focused on their own things and didn't even know how to talk to me about what I did. They didn't understand what I was doing. And they didn't get what I was doing. So find your people, whether that is through mentors, through hiring a coach, through joining an entrepreneurial community, through joining a mastermind. Find support and coaching in the appropriate places. And oftentimes that means paying for it, which can be tough for some folks. It was tough for me. It was tough for me at the beginning, and I was charging people to pay me to be their coach. So it's all funny. And oftentimes, we come across these things in our lives that then we have to learn and master. Like, the world is our mirror. And that was definitely a big one for me. So don't look for coaching and support in the wrong places. Just like, don't go do trainings when you really need someone to help you digest information. So I shared some of the like, do this, or things I would do again as we were walking through the don'ts. But I'll go over them here because I made this nice summary slide. And perhaps as I'm speaking, as I'm talking through these points, you can jot down some notes that come to you from your intuition. It might not be that you have to do all 3 of these things right now, but there's one that's like jumping out at you from the screen, or as I'm talking, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I need to focus on. So write that down. Like, take what you need, take your intuition, take your gut response, or even some things that you've been thinking about the last few weeks or last few months, and listen to that here. So number 1 is ask for and invest in the support you need. This is not to say like, you have to go throw $15,000 at a coach, or, do it within your means and what feels comfortable for you, but get clear. So maybe number 2 is part of, before you go to number 1, is like, get clear on what you really want in your life, in your business, and how you want to feel, and get clear on what, where, and what you need support with. So financial systems, or the behind the scenes of your business is a hot mess and it's something really, really hard for you to even look at, ask for support there. If you still have your own, kind of funky eating habits and you're trying to health coach others, like go hire a health coach who focuses on intuitive eating and helping people restore their relationship with food. If you don't see the next level for your business, hire someone who's been where you are and taking it to the next level or a level higher. Another interesting tip that I heard recently, and hopefully this will be helpful for you all, it was helpful for me, is like, none of us need to learn from someone 10 steps ahead of us, or like, let's say 10 years, 20 years ahead of us. I don't need to learn from, I need to learn, or we can learn best from someone who's a few steps, maybe just one step ahead of us, because they're close enough to where we are that they can still remember and relate. And especially with like, if we're talking online business, there's so much that's changing. There's so much that's evolving, that you might want someone who's closer in their evolution of growth than, say, someone who's been in the business for 20 years and is now like teaching millions of people. So look for someone who's a few steps ahead of you. They don't have to be 10 years ahead of you. So ask for an invest in the support you need. Number 2 is get clear on what you really want and how you want to feel. So this is where it's like important to go in and ask, like, what do I want? You can ask yourself that right now. Like, what do I want? What are my core desired feelings? That's a term from the Desire Map. And with my business specifically, or my work specifically, what do I want and what do I need? How do I want to feel in the process? Spend some time with that, and then you'll be led to your more aligned next step, versus like, oh, that person again has a best-selling book or has a beautiful website and I'm just going to like follow them. Maybe that's not even what you want. What do you want? How do you want to feel? And then finally, learn to connect to, or continue to connect to and listen to your inner wisdom, your intuition, your higher self, your spirit guides. Learn to connect and listen to that. Just like we are all here for very unique reasons, we all have very unique paths. And my next right step is not necessarily your next right step, even if we were in the same place at the same time. And so the only way to find like what that next thing is for you, and that might be, who's the next teacher for you? What's the next program for you to enroll in? What's the next training or next, professional development step for you to take? It might be that, but listen to your intuition when it comes to that. And learning to listen to and trust your intuition is a process. It's not something that you can just teach in a day or in a moment. But my guess is if you're here, you kind of have a sense for what that is, and maybe you've been listening or you started to listen. And I want you to encourage you to continue to listen, and to continue to listen to at an even deeper level, an even deeper level. So I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions. I've just spoken a lot. I think that might be my next slide. Yes, questions. Okay, so any other questions for what I've shared so far? Or if you'd like me to go into a specific place of my journey, my story, in more depth. So I'll give you a little example because this last one that I shared, learn to and connect to your intuition on, and like I said, on a deeper level. Oftentimes, since I work with, like I said, a lot of budding wellness entrepreneurs, health coaches, yoga teachers, life coaches, healers, um, a lot of times they have in their heads a specific way that things need to happen. Like, oh, I have to write a weekly newsletter that looks like this. I have to write a weekly newsletter that's a full page and it includes a recipe and tips. And you know what? You don't. And so what I direct them to is tuning into like what would feel easy and what would feel fun. What do you feel called to do? And one of my clients was like, I want to do an audio blog. Great. And that was so much easier for her when she took that. And another one of my clients wanted to do something that was more like links and like a visual newsletter to posts that she'd already shared on social media, which I see we have a question on. And that made it so much easier for her to just do it. And that is one of my biggest tips that I didn't include here. But it's like, be in your action. Keep being in your action. And that doesn't mean you have to go, 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 hustle, 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 create, create, create. But if something is, you're feeling blocked, like don't try and just hit your head up against it or beat yourself up for not being able to go through it. Like find a different path, open a different door, have a different perspective. And again, that's where it's really helpful to surround yourself with teachers and coaches and mentors that are showing you other ways. Okay, Mary said, I'd love to know more about your experience with social media if you feel it's necessary to use it for your business. Okay, let's talk about this. So when I started my business, Instagram was like a baby. Hardly anyone was on Instagram. You could get followers and things really quickly. And so it was like fun. And it's a fun way to like make content. I thought it was a really fun and easy way to make content and to share visually. And it was also a good way to get to know people, to grow your following, to grow people that are interested in you. I mean, you don't have to be on social media if you're just like you're just like, no, 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 no. But what I would suggest is if you're feeling that is to start to unpack why. Like, why am I feeling this resistance to using social media? Do I need to pick a different platform? Do I need to show up in a different way? Do I even need to, this is like a silly little tip, but like for more posts, I draft them on my computer versus like typing them out on my cell phone. And that's like a huge difference in content creation for a lot of my clients. So my answer is always like, go within, ask your intuition, and ask if there's something within that resistance. I have a blog post on resistance that you can find. There's some more steps along this way, but like, is this resistance my intuition telling me to go another way and that that's not for me? Or is this resistance something I need to dig into and get more to the bottom of? Like, are you feeling resistant to social media because you feel like what you have to share is not enough? Are you afraid of putting yourself out there? Do you feel awkward in front of the camera? Like, these are things to dive into. And shadow work is something that I dive into both in my group coaching program, Your Stellar Center, and in my one-on-one coaching as well. So starting to dive into that. And that being said, like, social media can be a great way to engage with audience. It can be a great way to get your wisdom and your words out there, your photos, your content, your services. And it's also always changing. We interviewed somebody, I co-host a podcast with one of my best friends, Erica, who is also a fitness coach and a wellness entrepreneur. And we interviewed this awesome guy, Jeff Jenkins. His Instagram is Chubby Diaries. And he's a content creator. He's a travel blogger. And we started talking about TikTok. And I personally have this huge block to TikTok. I've gone on it a few times. I feel like it's blown circuits in my head. And so I was like, I'm just not going on TikTok. It's for the young folk and I'm just not going to do it. And he, we kind of got into it on the podcast and he was like, but it's what Instagram was like 6 years ago. It's new and it might feel different and scary and like you have to learn something about it, but it's also a way to engage with people that want to see your content. And with the algorithms these days, it's way easier to grow a following on TikTok than it is on Instagram. So that's my piece on social media. Let me know if that was helpful and if you have any follow-up questions to that. But the answer is not necessarily necessary, but probably something that you want to consider. Okay, great. Glad that was helpful. Phoebe said, how do you differentiate your work from so many other coaches out there? Fear of someone else is doing this better stops me. Yeah. So first, just acknowledging that. Just acknowledging that I have that fear. And that can be something that you can go into in your journal with your coach, with your mentor, with a therapist, like get to where that comes from and how you can shift that. And I just taught a whole module on imposter syndrome for your Stellar Center for the mastermind component of it, which I think this is what you're talking about is imposter syndrome of like someone else is doing this better. They're going to find me out. I don't really know what I'm talking about. And my one tip around that is what I just shared. Do the shadow work. Get to the bottom of like what that fear is. Like, why do you feel that way? And the truth is like probably someone else is doing some version of your work better than you. There's another health coach out there that's better than you, or, you know, whatever. But we all have our own unique path and you have your own unique voice, and your message will land differently with different people in different stages of their journey. Like I said, we don't all need and I'm going to use this example, we don't all need Gabby Bernstein. We don't all need her right now. Like maybe we needed her 5 years ago. Maybe we resonate with her work in a year from now. Maybe we need one-on-one coaching versus books or online programs. And so know that there's just so many ways that people learn and how people resonate, that there's probably going to be somebody who's better than you, or offering something for a lower price than you, or offering something for a higher price than you, or offering something with more quote unquote value. But you got to get to the root of the shadow around not being enough, which is imposter syndrome. So that's point one. And then point two around that is to be really clear and real about what you offer and what you don't offer. I teach a coaching program, or it's more of a community and a group experience, a learning experience, your Stellar Center. And it's based on astrology. I'm not an astrologer, and I'm very upfront about that. If somebody wants to learn the hyper details of astrology, if you want a 90-minute birth chart reading, go to someone else. That's not me. Here's a referral. Blessings. But if you want to learn about astrology in a fun and embodied and community way, in a very intuitive way, in a way that's practical to apply to your own life, come hang out with me in your Stellar Center. That's what we do. And so that shift in getting clear about what you do and getting clear about what you don't do, getting clear on who you can help and who you want to help and what services you offer and who you can't help, is a really big step in working with that imposter syndrome. And then finally, because I see there's, Hunter also said that she was interested in this question. The other piece of that is like, surround yourself by people that are lifting you up, by coaches, by teachers, by colleagues, and be in that vibration of like, there's enough even with all of us together doing similar work. And anyone that makes you feel less than or lacking, or that you're not enough, don't learn from them. Don't be in community with them. Don't ask for their advice. Don't follow them on Instagram or on any other social media channels, TikTok. Like, be around the people that make you feel like things are possible and that you are on your way. Great questions. Any other questions while we're live? And then we'll just wrap up. All right. So first, I want to thank you all, especially my folks who are here and who have stayed all the way to the end. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence and your energy and your awesome questions. Like, this is why I do what I do. I love to be in this space and hopefully share. Again, my intention with this class was to impart some of the things that I've learned along the way, and hopefully maybe show you that another way is possible, that you don't have to do this alone, that you don't have to feel so lost, that you don't have to feel that being connected to purpose within your work, within your life, has to be a struggle or something that you have to do by yourself. So thank you for being here. And like I promised, I have a few fun opportunities for us to continue to connect, including a special gift for you. So I have decided that for the month of December, I have opened up the some of the portions of my coaching program, Your Stellar Center, including some new and full moon rituals, a class on the Capricorn energy type, and a class on the astrological elements to the collective. So you're welcome to drop into these classes or purchase these rituals as on like an a la carte basis. I've never done this before, and I'm really excited to share the coaching, the experience with you all. And so this might be interesting for you if you're curious in learning more about my work and what I do in Your Stellar Center. If you want tools for connecting more deeply to your intuition, that is threaded through everything that I do. And let me just, I got to exit full screen. Well, I'll do it. Well, let's see if I can exit full screen and still stay on the slides. Do you guys see the slides now, or am I totally lost? Because I want to copy and paste this into the chat, so you can see where you can sign up for those events. And you'll see there's a bunch of different options. Some of them are live, some of them are pre-recorded, like I mentioned. So they're all on Eventbrite. And if you register for any of them between now and Monday, which is our full moon in Gemini, full moon eclipse in Gemini, use the code FRIEND for $11 off, which will get you any of the rituals completely free, or I think you might just have to pay the Eventbrite processing fee. So connect with me there. Would love to have you. Would love to just continue this conversation. And it does feel like a really potent time, December, leading up to the new year, to tune in, to be in conscious community, and to connect with our intuition. Like I mentioned, if anyone here or anyone watching the recording is interested in joining, doing the health coach training program through IIN, there's also special savings right now, $2,500 off when you enroll. It might just be today. I think it is through Monday, the 30th as well. Mention my name when you register for savings, and I'll send out a replay email that will have more details on that. But I'm not sure anyone live here on this call is specifically interested in IIN. And then finally, I am offering a new private mentorship, one-on-one coaching intensive for 2021. So this will start in January 2021, but I'm only offering 2 spaces. And so if you're interested in this, if you're like, yeah, I want to work with you, please apply this weekend. And I'm going to offer a special $300 off the coaching program if you enroll, or if you submit your application by the 1st. So by Tuesday, I think that is, by December 1st. So what's included in that coaching program is with me, that mentorship with me is one-on-one coaching sessions, either 2 or 3 a month. So I'm giving you the opportunity. It's 18 sessions, can be spread over 6 or 9 months. So this is a longer term program with the intention to really go deep and gain results. Not just like a 21-day fix, but we're going to go deep, talking about purpose. If you want more practical support with your business, I'm available for that as well, but either 2 or 3 sessions each month, and then access to all of my programs. So you'll get access to your Stellar Center, you'll get access to my recorded Stellar Mastermind calls, and anything else that I have in my library that would support you along the way. And with that, I'm only taking 2 clients because it is more intensive and I'm holding space. And I'm available in between sessions for support. So again, the applications, if you apply by the 1st, you'll get $300 off. The program cost is $4,500. And I will let me just stop my share here for a moment. And I will pop the application into the chat as well. So you can just check that out. Even just looking at the application has some great questions that might help you along your way to your next right step, to what's next for you. So that's all I have for today, folks. Again, thank you so much for joining. Let's just take a moment to take a breath together and close. So if you want to close your eyes, take a full breath in and a full breath out, letting whatever we discussed, whatever came up for you, just settle like stardust into your cells. Knowing whatever needed to land has landed. And your messages, your insights, your downloads will continue to come through over the next few days, especially for those folks watching this live as we build to our full moon on Monday, November 30th. One more full breath in and a full breath out. Again, thank you all so much. I'm so grateful to be here, to be able to teach. Please feel free to, I don't know, send me an email with anything that you felt was valuable. If you have a question or a follow-up, I love to hear from you, just to make this a real conversation, not just me up here talking to myself. So thank you for the thank yous in the comments. Thank you to everyone who took the time to tune into this replay. And I will see you all very soon.